In ELA today, or reading today, we're going to start by finding our task together. Please click on Activities, Assign to Class folder, Red, ELA. Our task today is called Animals of the Desert and Temperate. Remember, we are talking about different climate regions. Please open to slide number 1 and be ready. Bathroom. Waiting for voices to be level 0, ready to go. That's not level 0. If you prefer to work by yourself in Ms. Seuss's room, you may do that. We need to be able to focus. All right, today we're going to start by thinking about our success criteria. Today we are going to continue thinking about climate regions, and we're going to continue thinking about text features and how they help us when we're reading. I'm going to push play on this video, and I want you listening and thinking about what we're going to be doing today.
On the next slide, with your teacher, you're going to read and discuss the text. Don't forget to study the text features for additional information you might find there. On the next slide, slide 3, you're going to watch the BrainPop Junior video. Stop and discuss the answer to the questions together along the way.
Awesome. Please click on slide number 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't need to hear voices. Thank you, Angela, for your respect. On slide number 2, today we're going to start by reading about the desert climate. We have already learned things about the desert. And yesterday you showed things like plants, temperature, and precipitation. Remember, precipitation means does it rain or snow and how much? Yesterday we talked about those 3 things. Today we get to take our knowledge even further, and we get to learn about the animals that survive in the desert climate. I want you to take 2 quiet minutes, and I want you to read about the desert. Read it to yourself. Then we're going to come back together. We're going to read it together. 2 quiet minutes to read about the desert. You may begin. We are going to read about the desert climate, and as I read, I want every student thinking of one important thing that you find in the text. One important idea, and I want you to hold it in your head while we read. What's something really important about the desert that we all should know? Here we go. Life in different climates. Desert life. Desert plants and animals can live with little water and extreme heat. The cactus stores water in its stem. Other plants and flowers only bloom when it rains. Desert foxes get the liquid they need from eating other animals. To keep cool during the day, many desert animals stay underground or under rocks. They hunt only in the cooler night. Going up here now. People have ways to survive living in hot deserts. The Bedouin tribe of the Middle East lives in tents. The cloth walls allow air to flow. Tents are lined with animal hair. This keeps heat and cold in or out when needed. I see a caption down here. It says cacti grow in the deserts of the southwestern United States. And right over here is a little text feature giving us a fact with a caption next to a picture. It says, camels do well in deserts. Camels have 2 rows of eyelashes. They also have nostrils that close. Both keep out sand. Fat stored in their humps lets them go days without food or water. Okay, looking for 3rd grade expectations. Who has identified something important from our text about life in the desert? Today, we're really focused on vegetation, plants, and animals. Who heard something that they think we should highlight together from our desert text? Theo, what did you identify? What about a cactus? Okay, so we've got some text features here helping us. Remember, text features help the reader. It's like a map. It helps us understand the text. So we see a picture of a cactus. And Theo, did you see any other text evidence that talked about cactus and storing water? Any other text evidence we could find? You just used the picture to talk about a cactus?
I see cactus.
Where did you read that? Is that just in the picture? Where'd you find it, Theo? Help us out. Oh, okay. I see Theo is looking at the text words. So I'm going to look for the word cactus. Okay, here it is. And now I'm going to read the whole sentence. Theo says the cactus stores water in its stem. There it is. I'm so glad we went back to check for evidence. That helps all of us know how Theo got that idea. Dave, what did you find about the desert? That's important for everybody. Awesome text evidence. Dave, where did you find that evidence? Help us out. Okay, right by the fact. Oh, that's right. Silly me. There's a picture of a camel. So if I'm going to learn about the camel, I could probably start next to the picture. And Dave said they have fat stored in the humps. Remember, camels have humps on their backs. And it helps them. It lets them go days without food or water. Wow, it's a good thing. The camel has those humps. So we know there's not very much water in there. Landon. Not during the lesson. Kaylee.
A camel has long eyelashes.
What about that? What's important about that, Kaylee?
She's got eyelashes. Long eyelashes are important to them because camels, some camels have love and they don't have like food and water.
All right, let's take that idea you had about long eyelashes and let's go read about it right here, Kaylee. What does it say? It says they have 2 rows of eyelashes. Then it says they also have nostrils. Those are the holes in our noses. Nostrils that close. Why, Kaylee? What does this fact tell us? What does it say after they have nostrils that close?
They close.
Both what?
Sand. Eyelashes.
Nostrils. Okay, so they have nostrils in their nose that close, and they have 2 rows of eyelashes. Both do what, Kaylee? Does it say it helps them breathe? Both what? What does the text say? What did you just read?
Camels have 2 rows of eyelashes. They also have
Nostrils that close.
Both keep out sand. Ding, 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 ding.
So what does it do? If you have nostrils that close
What do they do?
and you have extra eyelashes, how does that help, Nick?
It keeps out sand.
It keeps out sand. Oh my goodness.
Sand.
What do we know about the land?
Sand.
Yes.
Sand. We know what sand is, like on the beach.
Yeah,
Sand, right? We know that deserts have little tiny pieces of sand and it quickly blows around. We know that, right? So camels have eyelashes that are really long and extra. They have nostrils that close. You don't want to breathe in sand. It's like getting dirt in your eyes and your nose. Yucky, right? So we know that animals have adaptations that help them survive. Who else found something important? Kellen, what did you find?
I find a cactus.
You found a cactus. So Kellen, a cactus is a type of plant that can grow in the desert. This is something we're going to write more about today. Yes, Angela.
I found some news that people have ways to survive living in hot deserts.
So Angela found that there are people that live in hot deserts. And we know that deserts can sometimes be cold, right? We know that. And sometimes people live there. They have ways of surviving just like animals. Okay, something I noticed was about other plants. Let's go back to our section about plants. There are cacti in the desert, but there's also other types of plants and vegetation. Thank you. The other day, we read about trees that have long roots. Remember this? The trees have roots that go way down into the soil. We learned about that as well. So today, when you're thinking about plants and animals, I want you thinking about how the plants survive for a long time without water. Here's something I noticed. Other plants and flowers only bloom when it rains. What does bloom mean? What does that mean?
The flower, like it's growing, then it come out.
The flower opens up. That's when we see the pretty part. Sometimes plants close to protect themselves, but when it blooms, it opens up to get sun and rain. So in the desert, flowers only bloom when it rains. Is there a little bit of rain in the desert or a lot of rain in the desert, Alicia? There's just a little bit. It doesn't rain very much at all. So I'm thinking that it only blooms when it rains. I'm guessing flowers don't bloom very much. They probably are not blooming all the time like they are where we live. In the springtime, For weeks, we see pretty flowers on little plants and trees. But the desert, if flowers only bloom when it rains, it probably doesn't have many flowers. It says there are flowers, but it's different than our temperate climate. Yes, Day. Then please don't raise your hand. That's confusing. Yes, Nick.
Cactus is different because it has spines that protect it.
Yes, and a cactus is very different. It can really survive in the desert. It's a strong plant.
Water inside and animals try to get inside.
Yes, totally agree. Okay, we have learned a little bit about the plants, the vegetation, and the animals in the desert. Now I feel like we know a little bit more about the desert. Let's go to slide number 3, please. And we're going to do this part together. I'm going to play the video, and I want you to stay on slide number 3. We are going to pause the video when we hear an answer to a question. And then we will type an answer together. Question number 1 says, what is a desert like? Question number 2, how do plants survive in the desert? Number 3, how do animals survive in the desert? Okay, so there are 3 questions that we're going to listen for. We're going to listen for the answers. Then we'll pause the video. We'll type an answer together. What is the desert like? How do plants survive? How do animals survive? 3 things that we're going to listen for together.
Habitats. Deserts. Those are really long needles.
Listening.
No, not those kind of needles. The cactus needles are sharp points that protect the plant. Yes, a cactus is a plant. It grows in a desert habitat. What is a desert like? It's so sunny here. The climate is really hot. And look at the soil. It's dry and cracked. You're right, Moby. The plants and animals that live here must have ways to meet their needs.
Okay, so we heard our first question, didn't we, Angela? What is the desert like? I'm going to back it up. I want you thinking about the words they use to describe it.
Those are really long needles. No, not those kind of needles. The cactus needles are sharp points that protect the plant. Yes, a cactus is a plant. It grows in a desert habitat. What is a desert like? It's so sunny here. The climate is really hot. And look at the soil. It's dry and cracked. You're right, Moby. The plants and animals that live here must have ways to meet their needs.
Okay, let's go to our slide number 3. What is a desert like? We heard some things in the brain pop, and we already know some background information. Nick, what could we say?
The desert is hot, sandy, has some water, a bit of water.
The desert is hot,
Sandy.
sandy,
Has a
Alicia?
bit of water.
sunny. Go ahead, Nick.
Has some rocks.
So we have the desert is hot, sandy, sunny, has some rocks. I remember that not all deserts are hot. Sometimes the desert is cold and can be cold, especially at night when the sun is not there. The desert is hot, sandy, sunny, has some rocks, and can be cold. There is very little water. We have got to talk about there's not very much water. That's a really important part about the desert. It's very dry there. Go ahead and type your response to what is a desert like. When we start the video again, we're going to think about how plants survive in this climate, how animals survive in this climate. Let's go back to our video.
How do plants survive in the desert? Be careful. These leaves are actually long, thin spikes. This is not a good tree to climb. I bet these spikes help the tree to survive. Well, plants use their leaves to get sunlight, and leaves can grow pretty big. But the desert is really sunny. So this tree has long, thin leaves so it doesn't get too much sun. I guess desert plants have special ways to survive in their habitat. Moby. This tree has shallow roots that can soak up the littlest bit of rain that falls. And then it has really deep roots that can store extra water when there isn't any rain. You're right, Moby. That cactus does have a thick stem. It could store water in there. And the sharp needles keep animals from stealing its water. How do animals survive in the desert? Well,
All right, I'm going to back it up one more time, and you're listening for how plants, how the vegetation survives. I want you to try to pick out two things, pick out two ideas from the video.
how do plants survive in the desert? Be careful. These leaves are actually long, thin spikes. This is not a good tree to climb. I bet these spikes help the tree to survive. Well, plants use their leaves to get sunlight, and leaves can grow pretty big. But the desert is really sunny. So this tree has long, thin leaves so it doesn't get too much sun. I guess desert plants have special ways to survive in their habitat. Moby. This tree has shallow roots that can soak up the littlest bit of rain that falls. And then it has really deep roots that can store extra water when there isn't any rain. You're right, Moby. That cactus does have a thick stem. It could store water in there. And the sharp needles keep animals from stealing its water. How do animals survive in the desert? Well, all animals need some water.
All right, so before we move on to animals, let's type our ideas about plants. Who heard something really specific about how plants survive? I had awesome teaching earlier. Let's keep it up. Ashley. Yes, some roots are shallow, so if it does rain, it'll catch the rain. It'll soak into the soil and the roots will catch it. What else did we hear? Angela?
I heard that. I heard that some soil water.
Yes, so if it rains, it goes into the soil and the plants will soak in the water, right? Because plants need water. Nick.
Something that's flying to protect itself.
Theo. A thick stem so the water can stay in it. I've heard so many good adaptations already. Landon. Pass. Okay. Any other things about plants or vegetation? How it survives? Dave? Awesome, Day. I hear good listening. Okay, let's start our complete sentence. Our question says, how do plants survive? So we're going to start with plants. That's our subject. Our verb is survive by, I want you to list 2 ideas that you heard. Plants survive by, write 2 things that you heard from the video. We heard our class share out. You've got 1 minute to type your plant survival sentence.